Cool. Okay, there we go. Welcome back.
Well, welcome back. So today I want to talk about three things:
Yeah.
leadership in teams, values and behaviours, and insights. How does a leader connect with a team? And how does language and sense of place build new possibilities?
Mm-hmm.
So in this wonderful, chaotic situation we have, how does a leader connect with a team on a one-to-one basis?
Yeah.
And a one-to-one many, and a one-to-many? And what does that look like virtually?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'm going for a job now, and I haven't met anyone. So I'm having this virtual conversation.
Mm-hmm.
What does that tell me? And what does that look like?
Yeah. Gosh.
And if I haven't met the person,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
how do I trust that relationship at that moment in time?
Wow, that's a difficult one, isn't it? That is a difficult one. I don't. There's got to be experiences. I'd say the work context out of it, but obviously with what all the zooming that everyone's been doing recently, you know, and I've for one have met hundreds of people so far over the last 7 weeks. So it can be done, but to what extent do you does that relationship start to grow? And from my own experience, I think time is going to be like a really significant factor, which perhaps you may not have, in an interview scenario for a job or whatever.
So basically, this is for a future conversation of trust, mistrust, and distrust in the workplace. So, So basically, when I was Zooming 20 years ago and it failed, the reason it failed initially was because we hadn't met the people we were going to work with.
Yeah.
So we had the beauty of saying, right, we're all going to meet a couple of hundred people.
Yeah.
We all met up. We all had a conversation. And out of that, then when we did the virtual meetings and the physical meetings, you cannot get rid of both of them. It doesn't work.
No,
And this is what we have to do in the workplace. Like, if you're connecting, do you have a red, blue, and green team?
Yeah.
And you come in at different times. And what do you want to tell them? What does your language? My language virtually is not the same next to someone.
Yeah.
Because you've got everything else there. So, and one of the key things I look at is, if you're going to trust this other person on the other side of the room or the screen, do you trust yourself?
Yeah. True. You're quite right. You hit on a really interesting point, and we've done, and I've done, virtual for years. It's not a new thing, but absolutely right. You've touched on a point. It's previously been with existing relationships. The rapport's already there. You have that existing relationship, so therefore it makes it easier when we're talking to a screen, to a laptop, or whatever I'm talking to or talking at. The relationship, the bond is already there. So yeah, how do you replicate that in a virtual environment?
Well, you have a rational, logical, do I trust this person? That's putting it into one side, the brain and the mind. But also you have this intuitive or heuristic view that this is it, and there's two train. I'm going to talk about this later on, not this one, about these two things, and which model do you use when you're doing a virtual? It's like, I'm going into the office now. So my rational, logical said, I've met my boss. I know who he is. I don't have to come away with that.
Yeah.
And you build that trust with your boss, because if you build a trust with your boss and you do a good job, you get more money, you may get promotion.
Yeah.
How does that work virtually? Like the woman from Uber last week sacked 3,000 people on a 3-minute Zoom call.
Wow.
Where does trust come into that equation there?
Well, yeah, exactly. You'd be nervous the next time you have an all hands Zoom call, wouldn't you, if you worked at Uber? But interestingly, I think I read it. It was yesterday, wasn't it? Jack, the CEO for Twitter, Twitter have made a bold statement saying that they'll make it optional, which I think is nice. We all crave option and choice and ownership of our lives. Not an either or, but an and. You have options, which I think is a fantastic way to go.
But then we get down to the bottom bit of the screen here, and the sense of place. So my sense of place has been my physical office. I know we spoke about this last week,
yes,
but I was
absolutely.
speaking about this again this morning. If all these offices are going to be empty, where is your sense of place in the virtual world? Do I have to go and build a greenhouse in my garden, and that's my sense of place?
Yeah.
And that's a nurturing place. And I can go and look at a tree, I can go and look at a garden, and you now know how well that is for your health and well-being. But if you're working from home and the kids are running around and there's everything else going on,
Yeah.
how can you get the work done? Oh, by the way, you're not fulfilling your criteria for working from home.
Yeah.
Therefore, you have to come back into the office.
Yes,
That's
absolutely.
another interesting conversation. I know we spoke about that last week, but it's coming up more and more.
No, it is, and it's a really good point. And I've lived and breathed that sort of problem being at home with a young kid, having. And again, it's not been that important, but there's been some, really important meetings that I've said to her, you need to stay out the room, but kids are kids and they have needs, and if you're the only parent in the house at the time, then obviously, you've got that sense of responsibility as well. But at what stage does that become unacceptable? It's acceptable now because we're all in this new transitional world until we get to being let out fully. Everyone sort of accepts it now that your kid comes and you have to take two minutes out of this meeting. At what point does that become unacceptable again? Because before this it wasn't really acceptable, was it?
And that comes on to the next point: values and behaviors.
Yeah.
How do the values and behaviors of the organization align with the individual concerns and requirements that are arising now from the current situation? We all work in this corporate office, this wonderful building with 7,000 people in it on 40 floors. We're now going into a level 1 greenhouse or a level 1 bedroom with a seat and a desk.
Yeah.
And where's my mission statement today? Who am I working for today? And how does my value and behavior? And actually, that's going to change both individually and collectively.
Yes.
And is my contract, my contract going to change? I know the government wants to say working from home is going to be the same as working from an office. And the concerns and requirements. Yes, we're giving you a computer, we're giving you a screen, and this is an 8-hour job.
Yeah.
Do you want to sit for 8 hours on front of your screen doing work? And bottom line is, are you going to be monitored by big brother, big boss, big organization? Oh, by the way, your mouse didn't move, your screen didn't move, you didn't write anything, you're not working.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, totally right. It's an interesting one. The values one's an interesting one. I've done a lot of writing and ranting about it myself, of individual values and aligned organizational values, and not those that are written on a wall. It's the walk that you actually walk, not the talk. It's what you do daily, in and out. Those are the true values of an organization, of the people within it, not what some corporate marketing person has written up as your values and standards. And again, how do you, in a company of Barclays, for instance, saying that how are they going to occupy an office in Canary Wharf again with all those people? So, okay, how do you get ensure that those values sort of continue throughout the home life as well, or the home work life?
I suppose really on one level, do you become a mini hub of your organization in a way? And actually, can you give me, and again, are you actually transferring those values across to the individual, whereas collectively we're all working for a big company, and now individually you've got 7,000 individuals, whereas previously, culturally, we were working for a big organization.
Yes.
And some people may say, I can cope with this, and some people may say they can't.
And we start to see how all these are interconnected. If you rewind to one of your initial comments, of interviewing for a job, for instance, how do you judge that person's values and standards in that one little exposure at Reach, and ensure that they're aligned to the organisation? And and if you can't see it, again, it's seeing the actual behaviours. They're the values that you elicit through your behaviours. If you can't see it, how do you judge what that person? So you see how it's all interconnected here. And will be a messy situation to sort of manage if this goes on, if that's not the way an organisation goes.
But also you have the the feeling part of it as well. You know, it's like, does this job feel right to me? Can I work for this organization? Does it feel as I can bring value and they can bring value to me? Yes, you can put it up on a spreadsheet. These are our values, but that doesn't feel right to me. How would you get around that capability or possibility of what you want to deliver?
Yes.
And sometimes you don't know, I can't work because it doesn't feel right. The rational, logical says, go and take the job at all costs, but then it doesn't feel right somewhere down the line. So basically, how do you get that feeling across when you're having a Zoom call or a virtual call with your team members?
Yeah.
You know, and where is that raised on the virtual? You know, it's like, you know, we want you to do this. I mean, there was something last weekend. You should never have a Zoom call for information. You should have a Zoom call with 3 agenda items, and this is what we're going to. Don't feel uncomfortable with that. Is that the place to do it?
Yeah, it's a complex problem we're facing. It'll be interesting to see how it evolves over the next couple of weeks, especially obviously slightly different in England than it is in Wales, but obviously people are like, the roads are back to normal as of yesterday. You know, life is now carrying on regardless, I think, of the direction from Mr. Johnson. So again, it'll be interesting to compare and contrast, you know, England against sort of the other countries within the United Kingdom.
Yes, I mean that gets back to values and behaviours. So basically, are the values and behaviours of the language in England, no disrespect to England, different to the values and behaviours in Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland? And the answer is yes. And it all comes back to the wonderful thing about sense of place. That's not been, you know, my sense of place is different. My sense of place would be an organisation with a big building. Now my sense of place is my greenhouse, my garden, and my office.
Yes.
And I need to be comfortable being there. And therefore, on the third slide, this insightful thing, how can we develop our insights?
Yes.
Maybe someone working from home who's never worked from home said, my God, I can do this differently and more productively. Will your boss want evidence to that? Oh, but how do I know you're working more productively? And that, you know, by the way, I can do 2 hours on, an hour off, and 2 hours on, an hour off. I can work far more productively. Oh, by the way, I'd be sitting in the train for 3 hours going to London.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, are we expected now to do 12 hours a day because we're not traveling 3 hours a day on the train or the car?
Yes, this whole what's the word I'm looking for? It's this whole time-based working. It's illogical, in my opinion. You know, it should be process or object orientated. You know, you have objectives to reach. You know, you have a timeline to reach it in. You either do it or you don't. And you know, you have set KPIs or whatever you want to call it inserted along the route to ensure that you're either on track or, you know, how to get back on it, or, you know, to evaluate where you are amongst your peers or whatnot. And obviously then to give the stakeholders peace of mind that you're actually doing what you're doing, rather than, you know, I can turn my laptop on and log into my, you know, my Microsoft Outlook, you know, so you could see the little green dot that I'm online, I'm working, you know, and I can go and do whatever I want for 8 hours a day. You know, there's just so much ways around. It doesn't achieve anything. This whole time-based workplace.
Again, it comes back to what we said at the very beginning: trust. So basically, it's like you have a contract, right? That could be a written, that could be 50-page war and peace, or you could have a verbal contract. Today, we're going to talk about this and agree about this. Yes. Do you think this is achievable and successful? And that we all go on Zoom, and there's 20 people on Zoom, and that question is never asked.
No, true.
It's never asked. It's like, by the way, you and I know we're going to talk for 15 minutes. We're going to cover this. That's it. And we trust each other to do it. And out of that, something else may show up. And that's fine. But here's the contract. This is what we're doing.
Yes.
At some point, we'll stop and we'll start again, or we'll move. But that's the bit about it. So it's about like it's like a 3-line whip, and then at the end, this is what we're hoping to achieve. And if not, we agree we have to go and do some more work and get back.
That's it. You know, it is quite as simple as that. To be, you know, obviously it has more complexities that, you know, the more you delve into it. But, you know, bottom line is it can be simple, and it's this. This is not a new thing. I always hark back to Ricardo Semler. He was the owner and CEO of Semco, a Brazilian manufacturing company. And I remember watching his TED talk, and he explains how he changed when his father handed down the company, how he changed everything and made a company literally that was falling into the earth, really productive, really empowered, transformational sort of learning organization through exactly what enabling trust amongst everybody, and an object oriented. Everybody knew what they needed to do in line with the organizational goals, then set their own objectives in line with that, managed their own time and achieved it. And he was very instrumental in one of his analogies is say you have to sell 100 widgets in a week. If you sell it by Wednesday, fantastic. Do me a favor, go home and enjoy your life. Don't give me more problems by selling more, creating more demand, more stress on the manufacturer. And again, it goes back to that systemic model. Everything has an action and an outcome of something else. Everything's interconnected. So, and he did this, I think it was in the 70s or 80s, so this stuff's been around. And hopefully, what we're going through right now maybe is bringing this to the fore of people's minds who were historically, have to be 9 to 5 sat in a big brick building, doing what we do. We'll see.
but a lot of that is about safety and security, and a lot of people want to work 9 to 5 till they're 60, get a pension, retire. Somebody between 30 and 40 and said, I have to save for another 20 years to get this pension. Yes. And we look at it, give me this money, we're piling all this money up. That may or may not happen again. So basically you have to get back to the very, very simple context. How am I doing today? Am I okay?
Yes.
Tomorrow's another day.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes, we want to get there in the end, but I have no idea how we're going to get there. And it's a bit like all the systems theory. We all have our own internal, external systems. And when you bring your own system to here, then you have to align that with the other person's system. And if it's not working, then the system actually is very good at changing itself to align with what you want to do. And don't make, as you said, don't make it too complex.
Yeah. No, there's
and that was the thing on the bottom, was to build a new systemic model. I mean, people say it'll be nice. I mean, I've seen things on the news, let's go back to the normal. No, that's not going to happen. We've had to get rid of the normal because normal doesn't work. Exactly. This is now new, and it's not going to be normal either.
Absolutely, and yes, it's a new way of life, not a new normal. Because and I think I wrote a little post last week or the other day, and there is no normal. The whole world where humans, the world is sort of it's not a normal world. Everything's unique. And we should sort of take pride in that, and enjoy it, the uniqueness and sort of the problems and the complexity of the world. Nothing's normal about this world that we live in, especially the more and more advanced that we get as a human race.
Yes, and some people are more down the motorway than others. We're all on these different roads: the motorway, the A road, the B road, and they're happy being where they are.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And if they're happy at that level, then that's absolutely fine. And if people go behind them or race in front of them, that's okay as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the new system model, I have no idea what it looks like, but we have to go and say, you see that? Let's go and break it and build a new one.
And I think you've touched on a really good point there, is that I don't think anyone knows what the model, and this is maybe perhaps what the problem has been. We've tried to create all these processes and models and systems, but the world is not a straight line. The process is not a straight line, the system is not a straight line. And so rather than setting these boundaries, why don't you raise your vision up, appreciate the world around you, and as best as you can, you've got your vision, but you take your day by day. You take it as it comes and adapt. And that's the agility. If you are truly sort of systemic and sort of a holistic viewpoint to the way of operating, and you have that team around you, that you've created this, again, goes back to the trust, the values, the culture, to empower these people to make decisions in line with the organization goal, it will go a lot smoother for you. We shall see.
Yes, and while we're all going round in circles, why don't we go up and down the spiral and find the level that we're comfortable with at this moment in time?
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
Doing the spiral for many years, and we're up and down every day. Where are we at this moment in time? This level is okay. This level is okay. I know that, as Stephen Hawking says, never look down, always look up, because the universe is always brighter.
Yes, absolutely. That's a really good point.
So, thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.